Yo, here we are back again. Too much fantasy football. Brian and Brennan here talking about what else? Fantasy football on the Fantasy Football Advice Network. Thank you all for jumping in with us. Brennan, how are we doing today?
Just another day in paradise, man. How about yourself?
Same. We're here talking about football. Does it get any better than that?
It does not, man.
It does not. It does not. That's why we've got, hundreds, thousands of people sitting back, listening in, because that's all they want to do. Talk about football. It's May. Nothing else going on. NBA playoffs?
Nope.
No.
No.
Maybe next month, but I don't like to watch until the finals come. There's too many games. Do you think we'd still love NFL if we had 30, 40 games in a season?
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
it could literally be like a random Tuesday and we're going to watch. So,
Yeah, same. Aren't we I think we're going to have a Wednesday game this year. Remember them talking about something on the schedule. I think it was a Christmas game.
yeah,
Christmas
they
Sunday
saw what they
Wednesday.
did. They saw what they did on Christmas Day. They were just like, yeah, we're going to compete with the NBA for sure, and they definitely have no problems pissing them off, so
I don't know why we haven't been doing that sooner. If we're being honest, that's
no,
the only.
honestly, let's really think about that though. Like, cause like I this year, me personally, it worked out well because I was in the semifinals for two of my big leagues, and I won because the guy had Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce, and they shit the bed against the Raiders. So my buddy had a terrible Christmas because I'm just sitting there texting him on Christmas Day saying you fucking suck, and he's probably punching air right now. But like that's gonna be like everyone's Christmases are gonna be really, really up and down because of fantasy football because that does fall on like playoffs. Now, if they push it towards a week 18, it's still going to be sucking because you're going to try to be in the hunt for the playoffs.
Mm-hmm. And then you got New Year's right around. It's the complexities of this. And now Roger Goodell's talking about adding one more week. So that
Yeah,
was like
exactly.
President's Days after the Super Bowl. So we get the day off, which
It's honestly
I'm
just
cool with
genius,
that.
though. I am a-okay with actually drinking with a purpose on Super Bowl Sunday. So
Right? Yeah. I don't know though. Something about the regular season being into the new year. It's hard to. It doesn't sit well with me. Give me
yeah,
a few more warm games. Let me get an August game. Tired of going to Chicago and freezing my ass off in October. But today is another episode. It's Who's the One? We've got to figure it out. We've got a handful of more teams we've got to talk about. Houston, Buffalo, Dallas, and the Chargers are coming back for this episode. So we're going to open it up with Houston. Probably one of the most exciting teams coming out of last year. They made it to the playoffs. They won a game. They looked awesome. CJ Stroud showed, hey, standardized testing be damned. I can figure this out. I can throw a ball. Traded for Stephon Diggs in the offseason. Tank Dell took some lead, but he's doing all right. And Nico
jeez.
Collins is still there. And for too much. But Nico
we
Collins,
wish nothing but Tank Dell a speedy recovery. By the way,
100%. I want that
Yeah.
tank to be blocking bullets more often,
yeah, dude, Jesus, stay away from nightclubs.
Right? No kidding. If it's 7 p.m., just go home. Go to bed.
Yeah.
Nico Collins coming into year 4, looking for that contract, though. There's so much hype with this team. We kind of mentioned, too, in our previous episode, Joe Mixon coming to town to steal some targets. But when you've got an ADP at wide receiver 15, 16, and 26 for Collins, Diggs, and Dell, we've got to figure out where's the value here. Who's the one? What are we doing here, Brennan?
I mean, for me personally, like out of all of this, like I'm out on Stephon Diggs. Like he's the new guy in town. I get it. Like everyone's like, oh, it's Stephon Diggs, but like Father Time. Granted, what we saw in Buffalo was weird because like it was a steadily crazy drop off after they had the new offensive coordinator and they featured more of a run game, and all Stephon Diggs owners were just punching air from there on out. But I think I do think Stroud can steadily, feed these guys. I don't see that being a problem. But I think if there's a guy out of all of this that was like, if you're going to get the most bang for your buck, it's going to be Tank Dell. He's the cheaper one out of the guys. I think Nico's going to be the guy who has the most yards, but I think Tank Dell will be the guy who's going to be the most boom out of all of these guys, and you're going to be really happy with that boom. But I think he'll also bust more too.
I'm just not willing to buy into it. If it's either him or Nico Collins, give me the younger guy at the same price.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, I think. Do you think you'll be owning any Stephon Diggs shares at all this year or no?
No, I actually haven't owned Stephon Diggs share since he left Minnesota. If we're being honest, he got so
Really?
expensive. Not on purpose.
Fair.
Like I would have liked to have
Yeah,
him, but he just got so expensive that I usually looked elsewhere. So
fair enough.
um, this year I think I'm going to be in on Collins a little bit. I'm going to want Tank Dell, but again, I'm still personally nervous, and I'm okay looking for boom bust in other fragile guys like Christian Watson. He's tall.
That is
He's a
definitely a
tall
fragile
guy.
man.
But he's a tall, fragile man, and I'll take
Uh,
that every day of the week.
Fair enough.
Anything else with Houston? We ready to move to Buffalo?
No, there's nothing else about Houston. It's just crazy that Nico and Stephon are literally wide receiver 15, wide receiver 16 though.
And are we going to look back and look at those and like, wow, how did we keep both of those two guys at the same when one's most likely going to be
one was on father time, the other one wasn't, or like we were all idiots and Stephon Diggs was just phased out because Buffalo's offense that's how they were rolling.
But let's go to Buffalo because we have no hard feelings. We can head back there, unlike Stephon Diggs. I like me a good wing or two. But Curtis Samuel is the wing I'm falling on this year because I don't know what to do with this backfield. Second round pick, Keon Coleman. Khalil Shakir is a third round pick, I believe, who got talked up this offseason by the head coach. I believe this will be his third year. And then Dalton Kincaid. Ooh, you talk about tight end sweetheart. Everybody seemed to love him last year. He has to be in this conversation of who is the one.
Yeah, this one's a lot more trickier, I think, just because like they did pay Curtis Samuel a little bit of money. Keon Coleman he's 33rd overall pick, which that's whatever you want to call it. It's a round 2, pick 1. So they had their pickings left over of everybody. They did move back, so this was their first pick in this year's draft. And Keon Coleman's really, if you guys haven't watched any of his interviews, I definitely go and watch them. They are hilarious. He's going to be everyone's favorite person to listen to. Khalil Shakir, I feel like is going to be a very PPR dominant player. I think that's more so of that. And then Dalton Kincaid is, I think I'm going to be priced on Dalton Kincaid a little too much for me personally. But if I had to pick one, honestly, man, I think I'll lean Khalil Shakir. I think you saw the dazzle at the end of the year with him, kind of like how they moved the offense with him. For me personally, I just think where he's going to, I'm all kind of for it. I know like he didn't really show the targets, I would say, near the end of the year, just because they were running the ball so much. But there's just something about him where I'm like, okay, like I could see him leading the team in targets and receptions.
And it's crazy. He's the cheapest one of the bunch.
Exactly.
Keon Coleman right now is going as wide receiver 47, Curtis Samuel at 48, and then Khalil Shakir at 56. So at this point, the risk is baked out. So I'm okay with shooting those shots. I think there are a handful of people that they've seen the metrics and the production profile from Khalil Shakir, coming out of college. So the talent's definitely there. You can't say but it's how does this new offense look? The craziest thing about this team, 52% of their targets are gone between Gabe Davis and Stephon Diggs. So we've got to distribute that out somewhere. But a common stat I've seen is when you have this massive amount of target share to hand out, the running backs are actually one of the biggest, They bring in, they're one of the biggest beneficiaries of that. So James Cook, who started to have a nice second half of the year, he saw a healthy 9.9% of the targets last season. So if we could see him kick up to that, closer to that 15%, I think things open up with him where I really wasn't looking his direction much this year. Do you see him cutting into that workload, or do you think we're going to see a nice dispersal of targets between these new guys and Dalton Schultz?
I mean, Dalton Kincaid.
Yep, there you go. All these Daltons.
No, I definitely think I think James Cook's going to have that same role as what he had last year. I think it's going to be the same. He's not going to be the goal line back. That's definitely not his forte. Don't expect it to happen. He's definitely going to be anywhere from the 20-yard line from the other field to the 20-yard line to the other field as well. And anything in between, that's not him. But I'm starting to think about it now. Like I really do like Dalton Kincaid, but I'm probably going to be priced out just because of where he's going to be going. But I mean, at the end of it, after it looks like when they took over with him with the new offensive coordinator, he had 11, 6, 7, 6, 8, 2-2. He was injured. 7 and 8 targets. So you gotta chase the targets a little bit there. And so I wouldn't be surprised if he leads his team also in reception yards, but I just think he's too high in the price. And so I think with that, I love Kincaid, but I think there's just something about Shakir where I'm like, I definitely could see him just, there's a massive jump from him being, what'd you say, wide receiver 55, was it? 56?
56, yeah.
Yeah, I could definitely see him being more closer to the wide receiver 28, 29. And you'll take that because you drafted him so late and he was just a steal.
I actually have no problem taking, I think Khalil Shakir is the higher upside of the two, but Curtis Samuel, who's going, granted you spend a little bit more for him, I don't hate it. He's worked with Joe Brady before. So they brought him in specifically. This guy's been around forever, but he's still young. He's not that old. Young. I don't know how Carolina got him and DJ Moore at the age of 14 and a half when they drafted him. But they pulled it off. This is Curtis's third team now. I believe it's his 7th year in the league, 8th year in the league. But
it is his 7th year in the league.
They brought him in to do something specific. So I don't think that you can wash him out completely. Redraft, I don't think I'm in. I might not even. Shakir, I'm willing to take in redraft because where he's going right now, you can cut him after week 1. But
I don't believe in the word injury prone. I don't like that unless it's hamstrings. That's more something you can actually say. But Kincaid was constantly banged up in college, and then he missed a couple weeks here, and so it's I know if I draft him, there's a higher chance of him missing some weeks. And so with where he's going, I just think you need him to play more than 13, 14 games. And there's a good chance he probably only plays somewhere from 10 to 12 just because of where it looks like his career is heading.
And if you're not an elite tight end, if you're only playing 10 to 12, you probably only have 6 to 8 real good startable games in that. You're still going to have those games you're oh my gosh, another 3-point tight end. I might as well have Hunter Henry, So
yeah,
I don't know. I didn't fall in love with him coming out of the rookie season, and I think it's just my bias with tight ends. I know what I have with them, and I don't like to spend much on them. They're cheap.
Yeah. This is a room that's very intriguing just because any one of these guys could very much lead this team in targets and receptions, and we'd be yep, that makes sense because of X, Y, and Z. So again, if I had to pick one, I'm just picking Shakir because he's cheaper, and I'm just banking on him being there the longest, and he knows Josh Allen the longest. So
this is a fun room to talk about, but it's got to get ugly. It's got to get a little uglier. So everybody pinch your nose, hold your breath. We got to go to Dallas. I know. It wasn't my idea. It was his. But we got to go to Dallas. We have to talk about this running back room. Rico Dowdle, Zeke Elliott, Royce Freeman, Deuce Vaughn. What are we doing here? I don't like any of it.
Yeah, I don't either. But there's got to be one of these guys that's going to take over and be not the bell cow, but someone who's just seeing the field more. And honestly, we don't know who really is going to see the field more out of all these guys right now. I mean, Zeke was the leading, reception leaguer in reception in Patriots, which is crazy to think about. He led the team in receptions. Rico Dowdle, he was on the field more so with why am I drawing a blank on his name? Tony Pollard. He was on the field right after him. Royce Freeman, I don't
he's
really
bounced
think
around for years.
Yeah, he's bounced around for years, and then Deuce Vaughn is a tiny little guy who's quick touch and a coach's son on the team. So again, I mean, if I had to pick one, I guess I'd lean towards Zeke, and I think everybody else is going to lean towards Zeke, but I wouldn't be surprised at the end of the day. It's just a gross backfield that no one should own and start.
It's bad. I think oh God, I don't know. I was very much actually into Zeke before the NFL draft. Where he was going in best ball was great, but he's jumped 56 spots over the since the NFL draft, since he got signed. He's going as the RB41. I guess my biggest argument for pro Zeke is, like you said, he led the team in receptions for the Patriots last year. with a team that they're not going to be running the ball a whole lot. I mean, they're going to run the ball, but I don't think they're going to be successful at running the ball. I think this Dallas defense could take a step back this year. They were elite. Like, they had a lot of things fall their way on top of being good. So I think we could see some steps back, and Dak's going to have to throw the crap out of the ball. And besides Brandon Cooks, you've got, Ferguson and CeeDee Lamb, but the running back's going to have to be involved. So does Zeke see a healthy 3 to 5 targets a game? And if so, that's very fantasy relevant.
Yeah, I mean, one of these guys,
please.
Yeah, one of these guys is going to be fantasy relevant, and so I think everyone's going to, lean towards Zeke just because, like, everyone's going to be like, I remember Zeke. He used to be really good for the Cowboys, and he's going back. Like, that makes sense. Like, and I'm out. I don't know if I want to pick one of these guys up and be like, oh, maybe they'll be my running back too. Maybe I could, use these guys later in the year, and it's just, I don't think you will. I think it could be like you wouldn't be surprised that like Royce Freeman, for whatever reason, week 4 led the team with 18 carries for 60 yards and a touchdown, and then the next week it was Dowdle with 12 carries for 50. It's just like I think it's going to be a week by week thing with this team until camp comes around. Then they'll be like, yeah, this is the guy who's probably going to be rolling out week 1 out of the backfield. But until then, I'm probably staying far away, even in best ball. Like, unless he's like a really late flyer, I'm probably out though.
Yeah, he's going to RB41, so it's not a huge investment, but there's still some decent pieces in that area. I will say we have 54% of the rushing opportunities are vacated, so somebody's going to get some sort of work, but do we know who it is? Is it going to be consistent? Is it going to be just ugly? This might be a backfield you just leave for elsewhere, but I'm going to take age here. Rico Dowdle. I feel like other arguments we've kind of leaned on the younger guys, but I'm going to take Zeke. I'm going to take the familiarity. How long has it been since Zeke was in Dallas? It seems like multiple years, but it's just the one, right?
It was just one, yeah. He just got let go.
I feel like he's been gone for like multiple years.
Yeah, I know, because Tony Pollard was so good, everyone just thought that he'd be it, and that just wasn't the case. But let me ask you this: will one of these guys have 1,000 yards rushing?
Whoa. I don't know if the team has 1,000 yards rushing. No, I think if either one of these guys is successful, it's on the back of targets. I don't. Okay. I don't. Zeke's like yards per carry, wasn't it like sub 3.4 last year? It wasn't good. It was ugly.
Well, the Patriots weren't good, so
this is true.
Yeah.
All right, let's head back to LA because the Chargers gave us quite a bit to talk about with the running backs, but they also gave us some wide receivers to chat about. Last year's rookie sensation. Yeah, it doesn't sound right. Last year's rookie first-round pick, Quentin Johnston. We've got Josh Palmer, who is still there. And then Ladd McConkey, eh? Nope, that's Canadian. That's not even close to Ladd. Sorry. I'm sorry, folks. That was a bad one. You can go ahead and just turn it off after that. But no, Ladd McConkey coming out of Georgia, early second-round pick. The Chargers moved up to grab him. I'm super excited about Ladd. I don't think I could be talked about. I don't want any other wide receiver except for Ladd. If the price gets too much, I'm away from it, but I have no instant in QJ. Josh Palmer, I've picked him up off the waiver wire and used him before, but I'd love to never have to do that again.
Fair. Let me ask you, where are these guys going right now in best ball?
Oh, that's a great pick. Everybody wants to know that.
Yeah. For me, I mean, Ladd McConkey, everyone. So let me give you guys a rundown. I live in LA, and I have a couple friends who are Chargers fans, and they're already calling him third and Ladd. So like the hype around this guy is real. I get it. His metrics are amazing. When you look at his numbers from Georgia, they weren't, but when you watch him play, he has his route trees and immaculate. Me personally though, I do like Josh Palmer. Like I know it's gross. I think he's out of this group, I could see Josh Palmer steadily leading this team in receptions and yards, and it's gross to say, but I just think he's probably the cheaper one out of the. I wouldn't say cheaper, probably Quentin Johnston's probably cheaper.
I was gonna say, you say it's gross, but you've got a fan club, I guess, of gross people because you're not the only one that thinks that. Right now, Josh Palmer's going at wide receiver 59, QJ's going at 67. So okay. Several spots back. As far as overall ADP, he's going 20 spots overall in ADP behind him. So, at least 2 rounds there, almost 2.5. Ladd McConkey is all the way up at wide receiver 45. I say all the way. That's still the rookie risk is baked into it, so you're not really losing much there. This offense can only be better than what we projected. I feel like most people are projecting this to be a bottom 6, bottom 8 offense. Maybe not as far as productivity, but just points scored and passing and how much really comes out of this offense, because they could drain the clock. They could have 5 to 7 possessions, and they're just running the ball, running the clock out, as we love to see for fantasy football. No, Harbaugh, we don't. Get that crap out of here. But I don't know, Ladd, wide receiver 45. I just absolutely love the thought of, even as their wide receiver 2, I think that's a great price.
Yeah, I think Ladd's going to get priced out pretty quickly when it comes to summertime. I think he's going to be climbing up pretty steadily. I think he'll be closer to wide receiver like 30s, if I had to guess, just because like someone's going to have, okay, let me ask you this. Will someone on this team also have 1,000 yards in receiving?
1,000 yards receiving. If J.K. Dobbins is healthy, I'd say yes.
Okay.
17 games. I think Ladd, I think he could do it. I even think Josh Palmer stands a decent chance. If he is the number 2, if he beats out QJ, I think because, I mean, 1,000 yards isn't terribly challenging for guys now with the full 17 game season. So, I wouldn't be surprised. I'm actually would be betting on this team being significantly better than everybody else is saying, because everybody's cutting them so low. Like Justin Herbert's still dropping an ADP. He's like QB 16 right now. Are you kidding me?
Kind of makes sense though. I mean, like you just know they're going to run the ball, and he like last year, like he was asked to do a lot because obviously just their team sucked, and so he had to put more on his back than anybody else. But I mean, personally, if I had to pick someone, I'm going to pick Palmer. I'm going to pick someone that's just a little more cheaper. I think Ladd, I think he's going to be going way too high in my drafts. And just because I have friends that are Chargers fans, so they'll be reaching for him. And there's a couple of them in my league. So like they're going to be outbidding another one. So I know I'm out. So typically that's another thing too. Know your league mates. So know that if you like, we'll talk about it later on in another episode, but I just know personally, I won't be getting him in most of my redraft leagues just because I'm just going to get priced out.
I mean, you never know. My rookie drafts, he's fallen a lot more. There's that melanin discount right now where everybody's letting him fall more than they should just because he's a white guy. But you know what? He performed well at the combine. I think he has the skills, and I'm excited for him. I think, it's hard not to be.
Let me put it like this. In my 3 Dynasty leagues, I have 2 friends that are both Chargers fans in it. He went 108 in a single quarterback league, and then he went 201 in the super flex. So like again, like I knew I had no chance at getting him, even though he was being reached for. I was just like, I'm just not going to touch him. Let the Chargers fans get him. Yep.
That's funny. Hey, that's a key, folks. I don't think it's talked about enough. You're looking for advice from us. You're looking to looking for advice from other people. Y'all know your leagues better than anybody, and that's where you can take advantage of things. I put out what I would consider pretty baseline good trades in most of my leagues, and there's some of them, they get rejected real quick, and then there's other times I send out crap, and they eat it up. So you never know. It goes both ways.
Yeah.
But it's time to get out of here. It's enough of these Who's the One picks. We need to move on, get ready for next week. Brendan, you got anything to share with the folks? Tell them where they can find you. You got anything going on?
They can find me on Twitter at FFANBMulk, and then I am on the Facebook group for the Fantasy Football Advice Network. And that's about it, really. So.
Nice. Keeping it simple, easy to find him. There's no map needed. You're going to have a map. You're going to have Sigourney Weaver there with you helping to try and find me because it's hard. But if you are on Twitter, it's at @too_much_Brian. I will be all over here on the Fantasy Football Advice Network because, of course, you've liked, you've subscribed, and you hit that bell. But until next time, we'll see you.